Jurassic World Dominion, as many people know, is the sixth installment of the Jurassic franchise and supposedly the last. I know I'm late to the party, but my review for the film was delayed due to my visit in India. However, I decided to suck it up and make a video anyways. So the way this is going to work is we'll begin by going from scene to scene as I give a brief overview and then cut to my analysis of the basic material to make a good film and talk about how many boxes Dominion checks off. And then we'll end off with an overview. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, but I provided chapters for you to be able to skip around to different parts of the video. Hopefully that'll make the viewing experience more enjoyable. Anyways, I put a lot of time into making this video and had to see Dominion in theaters again, since it isn't available on streaming, just so I could solidify my opinion. So please leave a like on this video if you think I deserved it. Alright, here's the video. The opening title of the film doesn't show anything too interesting or unique, which is a bit of a shame. I get that E.T. flying past the moon is kind of the staple, but why not have a pteranodon zoom past instead? The movie is a big deal. Show people that you care. We start the movie with the scene in the Bering Sea with a fishing boat. Of course, like everyone would expect, the Mosasaurus jumps out of the water, grabs the vessel, and proceeds to drown it. It seems that nearly everyone enjoyed the scene and thought it was pretty cool. However, unfortunately for me, I don't think it's very good. First of all, it seems way too rushed, which is a problem I have with a lot of the dino scenes in the first half of the film. Second, I don't think the CG looks that good, which is surprising for the third film in this trilogy. I don't know why, but the one in this shot just looks especially dull compared to its appearance in the first two. Sorry, this is a sin for me. Alright, I swear I like this movie. I just don't think the first few scenes are very good. This news report thing is just the stupidest thing ever. I hate it when movies start out like this. Plus, I'm not really sure about how much I like the idea of putting the extended dinosaur sequences from Battle at Big Rock into the movie. Again, they look kind of cheap. So following this dumb news reporter scene, we actually get a behemoth of different shots of several different dinos roaming around, and I think it actually looks pretty good. And is a much better visual representation of the aftermath of the events at Lockwood Estate. So this Nasutoceratops scene is interesting. I do appreciate the fact that it's trying to value a rather unused species, and the lighting is pretty good, but that's pretty standard. I like the part where the adult Nasutoceratops comes in, but that only lasts 10 seconds, and then we're off to the next scene. So I really don't know whether to consider this a win or a sin. I guess I'll just leave it the way it is. But I can tell you that I actually really like the Parasaurolophus wrangling scene. It's a pretty cool background, and generally speaking, I thought it was pretty well handled, and didn't feel comparatively rushed. Unrealistic? Sure, but welcome to Jurassic World. If I had to say which character I felt the most conflicted about the entire film, it's Maisie. At the beginning here, I found her to be pretty generic and kind of cliche with the whole teenager thing, which I actually found to be pretty jarring for Jurassic World. Long story short, the Sauropod Oz scene in this movie is, for the first time ever, the Patasaurus, which was pretty cool, but again, it just feels like it came and went. And then we got to this extremely cheesy scene that's cheesy because they try to make it not cheesy by saying it's cheesy. Blue shows up for a minute, so that's fun. Oh yes, and she has a baby. Yeah, this entire compilation of events was ripe for a sin. One of the biggest surprises I was met with the entire movie was learning that Rain Delacourt was a bad guy. I first learned about him from the Lego sets for Dominion, funny enough, and assumed he was a protagonist for some odd reason. I guess the tattoo on his face kind of sells it. I'm going to cut out of order for a second, just go to the part where Beta and Macy get kidnapped, which was kind of cool, but I wish there was more of a chase scene. So the locust seems to be everyone's biggest nitpick with the film, and I can definitely see why. I mean, we all came here to enjoy dinosaurs, not bugs, and I feel like this is one of the biggest issues with the movie that I really can't defend. We also get the nice introduction of Ellie Sattler. Great to see you back, Laura Dern. Out of all three of the original legacy characters returning from the first film, Alan Grant's scene I think is done the best. It makes perfect sense that he's returning to the dig after all this time, and his confrontation with Ellie is realistic. I think it should have taken a little bit more to convince him to return, but I don't think it's a big deal. Then Franklin shows up and speaks like 15 lines, so that's a problem. With a few nitty-gritty details, we end up at Biosyn headquarters with Alan and Ellie. We get introduced to Ramsey, who turns out to be another important side character, as well as the reintroduction of Lewis Dodson, looking very, very different. And for some reason, he wants a cereal bar. Anyways, then there's Ian Malcolm, who gives a key to the locust place to Ellie so she can take one hostage for sampling. In this transaction scene where Macy is handed off to this woman named Santos, we are introduced to another sort of important character, Kayla, who is being paid to transfer Beta. Majority of the second act of this movie is spent in Malta, where we get a lot of cool dinosaur stuff, sure, but not a lot of story relevance. But as I explained in my last video, who cares? I came here for dinosaur action, and we got so much in these few scenes. I'd say my favorite part was with the Trosiraptors. I like their more clumsy, rampaging nature, opposed to that of the Velociraptor. The whole laser attacking thing was kind of unoriginal, though. I love the chase scene as Claire tries to escape them, but there was a big missed opportunity with this chain of sequences, and that's involved with Barry. I think they really missed the mark by not killing him off, when they really could have. Imagine how cool that would have been, seeing a good guy die unseen in this trilogy. It was a really tense scene, watching Barry try to skip the raptors. Yeah, I didn't feel any dramatic tension because I knew he was going to survive, and that continues throughout the whole film. Back at Biosyn, Alan and Ellie find the compound with the locusts and proceed to take one, but their party's interrupted when the sirens go off, unleashing the animals. The alarm was set off to command the security forces to capture Maisie after she escaped the lab. During her stay there, she had a really weird chat with Dr. Wu, who is strangely out of character, to the point where the movie wants us to feel bad for him. And then we're introduced to the idea that Maisie's mother, who cloned her, was actually the most brilliant scientist ever. Yeesh, way to knock down Wu. After escaping the locust compound, Alan and Ellie meet up with Maisie, where they just talk about how life's been. They both say it's not great and run off together. They then meet Ramsey, who agrees to send them off in a subway out of the facility. At this point, I was actually really bent on thinking Ramsey was going to be revealed to be evil, but to my surprise, no. He's just a normal human being. Good job, movie. Back in Malta, Kayla rescues Claire and Owen and agrees to take them to the Biosyn facility to save Maisie. However, during that, the Quetzalcoatl Atlas makes its appearance. But this was honestly one of the most disappointing new dinosaur reveals. It was cool when it showed up, but it was only there for a few seconds. I had so much higher expectations for it. At least if they had kept the premiere, we would have at least been able to depict the sheer size of it. But here, we get nothing. They could have easily replaced this scene with pteranodons and nothing would have changed. Basically, Claire has to drop shoot out of the plane in the middle of the Biosyn-certified jungle. So she does exactly that. After Claire lands in a tree, we are met with the undisputed best scene in the entire movie. I cannot even begin to digress how phenomenal of a scene the Therizinosaurus scene is. I feel like it's an entirely different movie. Not only does the animal and background look amazing and scary as heck, but the cinematography is unmatched. The way the scene is shot is genuinely horrifying. Take this as you will, but I not only think this is one of the greatest scenes in the franchise, but if you ignore the finale, which we'll get to later, the Therizinosaurus is the scariest dinosaur in the franchise, which is insane to think about. The fact that for the first time ever they managed to make a herbivore scary is monumentous. I don't see how they did it. Just bravo. Bravo. Of course, then they had to follow up the best scene in the movie with the absolute worst. The Pyroraptor scene is bad, and I don't even need to explain why. They heavily promoted all the new dinosaurs that were going to appear in the new film, but to my pleasant surprise, they didn't spoil everything. We got some information way back when that a Dimetrodon might appear in Dominion. However, as time went on, this information became more and more unlikely. I think they did a great job by shooting the scene in a cave instead of out in the open, since it makes them more of a posable threat. Owen and Kayla meet back up with Claire with the lovely attack of the Dilophosaurus. I love how Owen just straight up strangles the thing. For the next few scenes, I'm just going to skip over them, mainly because nothing relevant happens, but also we're running out of time. Eventually, Owen, Claire, Kayla, Alan, Ellie, and... Kayla, Alan, Ellie, Ian, Macy, and Ramsey meet up, and are pleasantly greeted by the Giganotosaurus and deal with him in a fantastic scene. Hey, this movie may not kill much, but Dotson's death is pretty awesome, not gonna lie. Great homage to Nedry as well. The rest of the movie doesn't handle Easter eggs that well. Dr. Wu shows up and says that he has a cure to fix the locust problem. They trust him almost immediately for some reason. Owen, Macy, and I think it was Alan rescue Beta in this well-shot scene, and then Gigi shows up. Ah, we've made it. It's finale time. I will admit the finale was not that great. In fact, it might even be weaker than Fallen Kingdom. They pretty much ruined the Therizinosaurus, and then there's this hilariously dumb part when they kill Gigi, where they roar together. Also, huge missed opportunity with Rexy. They really should have killed her. It would have been the greatest heroic sacrifice. If they were to kill her, however, they should have done it properly, as in the main cast should have cared more. This is a dino that is so important to the franchise, and seeing it go with no emotional impact would have been sad. But I do like the shot where she opens her eyes. So yeah, kind of a weak ending if you ask me. And yeah, that's kind of it. So it might seem like there's a ton I don't like. Honestly, all the problems I have can be completely redeemed by the fact that there's so much awesome dino stuff here. I could really care less. But let's go through some of the important regards. One of the big things people point out when criticizing this movie is that there really isn't a story, but honestly, aside from the original, none of these movies do. It's not anything particular about this one. Let's do a quick rundown on each of the main characters used in the film. Owen is so much better than he was in Fallen Kingdom. He still has that bad cuss from the first film, though. Claire was kind of a weird character in this film, as she was considerably toned down, but overall, I didn't mind her. I'm not sure how I feel about Ellie. She was considerably different from the original trilogy, and I didn't buy her sub-romance with Alan. Ian was great, easily the best of the returning cast. I actually really enjoyed Alan. He had that same personality, and I really felt that he was the same character. I really can respect Ramsey's character for not becoming a twist villain. I really enjoyed Kayla. She had that same flair as Owen, but not quite as intense. Again, I'm not really sure how I feel about Wu. He felt like he had a sudden shift in ideology too quickly, and it would have been great to see his death from the original novel. Although I didn't find Maisie that pleasing in the beginning half, I found her story more and more compelling by the end, but it's not a strong win. Dodson in this movie is kind of weird. I thought his whole cereal bar side trade was just a little weird, just a little bit. But besides that, he wasn't too bad. Plus, he got a nice death. Gotta love that sweet, juicy Jurassic karma. I'm a little mixed on this guy, since I think that they killed him off way too early, and he didn't really have that many traits besides he's a tattoo guy. Again, they really didn't expand on her that much, which I thought was kind of strange. I didn't think her fixation on the Troshraptors made much sense, but that's more of a problem with the subplot, not much her character. And that's the breakdown. Overall, I think most of the old characters were pretty solid and step up from their previous role, as I wasn't so sold on the newer ones, with the exception of Kayla and Ramsey. Again, everyone's going to point out at the Locusts as being the main source of conflict for the film, saying it's dumb. However, personally, I think the Locusts were more of a representation of Dodson's and Biosyn's ignorance. Although I think the theme is a little bit in your face, it makes sense for a film like this. The movie is a lot more focused on implications of dinosaurs rather than something like family or morals, like previously seen. Yeah, I think it worked. And that concludes the majority of this video and review. If I look at this film critically, it definitely isn't a stretch to say that it wasn't well received. However, the general public tomato score is good, which is surprising because out of the 38 reviews I found on YouTube alone, I counted 2 of them being positive. But surprisingly, I'm gonna have to go with the sides of the positives. I really enjoyed Jurassic World Dominion. It really is good. Is it actually good? No. The story slides all over the place, the pacing is genuinely awful, and there are so many inconsistencies. But despite that, this movie really delivers with its dino action. There is so much great action. Plus, the characters were all around pretty solid. One of the biggest things that rubbed me the wrong way about the reception of this film is actually not the fact that people don't really like it. The other day, I was watching a specific YouTuber who I will not mention the name of so I don't give him undue publicity. But one of the big things that stuck out to me was one single thing he said. This film was a cash grab. I strongly disagree with that. Sure, you might think it's bad, but I've been following the production of this movie since the day it started. And let me tell you, everyone is trying their darnest to make the best film possible. The actors genuinely had a good time, and so did the rest of the cast. Either way, whether you like it or not, Jurassic World Dominion is probably going to be the end of the Jurassic franchise, which is pretty sad. Now, if they do continue it, they better do it the right way, but we'll get to that in another video. Anyways, this has been a long boy, and it's probably a good idea to go ahead and wrap this one up. For my final rating out of 10, I'm going to go with a solid 6 out of 10. I feel like that's reasonable for what I've mentioned. If you enjoyed this review and think I deserved it, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more content similar to this, make sure to subscribe. I've left my channel dormant for a while, but I'm finally getting back into the gist of things. My other 2 channels have been doing phenomenally, and I'd love to see this one reach the same height. Thank you for watching this video, seriously. If you'd like, and if anyone's seeing this section of the video, I'd love for you to leave your thoughts on Dominion in the comments. It would be great to see a conversation started. That's all I gotta say. Bye-bye, and I'll see you guys in the next one.